Hey guys, do you have one of these in your house? An older granite, corian, laminate sink that's got an integrated backsplash and an integrated sink? I have a lot of people ask me questions, how do I create a finish on this type of a surface? Stay tuned, I'm gonna show you with a little paint, a couple of sea sponges, and a little bit of epoxy, how we're gonna really transform this simple little sink. Okay, so this sink has already been prepped. Very, very important doing this type of finish is number one, clean it really well and hit it with some very low grit sandpaper, even a carving disc, because what you want to do is create a really good tooth for everything that we're going to apply above it to grab onto. The second thing you want to do is apply a high quality bonding primer. Not an all-in-one primer, but an actual bonding primer. Stone Coat has a fabulous bonding primer. We did 2 coats, let them dry, and then we came over the top of this particular one with our Stone Coat countertop undercoating. Now you don't have to use that. You can come over with a latex paint. You could even use a spray paint. Whatever it is, the most important thing is that you applied that bonding primer first so that you're gonna have good adhesion on everything above that bonding primer and we won't have any issues with delaminating. So this has 2 bonding primers and 2 coats of our Stone Coat countertop undercoating. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna come in with the new cabinet paint from Stone Coat. I absolutely love this paint, but you can use any kind of paint you want. You can use a latex paint, you can use an acrylic paint, whatever you want to do. The tools that we're going to be using are a couple of seafoam rollers, all right, got these on Amazon, and then a couple of just regular multi-size sea sponges. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, we have our 2 colors. What I really like about this kind of finish is there's just no limit to what you can create. You can use any color you want. You can use 2 colors, 10 colors. It's completely up to you. So the colors we're going to be using is going to be a really pretty green color, like I said, from our Stone Coat countertop cabinet line, and then also a beautiful light gray. It's going to play off what we already have of our white. All right, so I'm going to come in with my darker color first. So all I'm doing is rolling, getting my roller, and I'm not pushing it deep. If you'll see, I only want the paint on the high areas of my roller, okay? I'm not just totally saturating that roller. In fact, what I'm gonna do is after I do that, I'm gonna actually offload it just a little bit on a paper towel because I don't want it dripping. That's the main thing, you don't want this dripping. All right, come in and very lightly, we're gonna just start rolling it out. Now it's gonna be ugly before it's pretty. So you're gonna have to give it a chance. So guys, the best part about this is you do not have to be an artist to do this. We're gonna just keep layering and layering until we've achieved the look that we want. I'm gonna go down in my sink. Now, I know we're not gonna be able to go all the way down in the sink with this roller, so that's where our little sea sponges come in. All right, don't worry about any of those little imperfections because the way we're gonna be layering and layering, we'll be able to take care of any little imperfection. The key to this sort of finish is tons of layers. So some areas I may have a little darker, some I may have a little lighter. That's what natural stone looks like. So I'm gonna kind of get a little darker in some areas, a little lighter in others. And we're gonna address that sink a little later. So you guys make sure you stay to the end because we're gonna talk about how to pour our epoxy on our integrated backsplashes. All right, so I'm gonna get my other roller, do the same thing, and just come over the top. This is that gray. This is gonna kind of knock that green down just a little bit. Anywhere that I may feel like I have too much green, I can go over it a little bit more with that gray. This is a perfect finish, guys, if you've got rental property, if you are trying to flip some houses, and you are trying to just get a quick fun, functional finish. Now there's a little area right here in this corner, and we're gonna have to address that with our sponges because I can't get my roller right up into that area. So you can get these textured rollers on Amazon. They're very inexpensive. Your sea sponges, I believe they have them at Walmart, and again, you can also get them on Amazon. And being that I'm using a water-based paint, cleanup is super easy. All I need to do is wipe it down and actually soak them in water. All right, so I'm gonna come back with my green, and like I said, we're just gonna keep building and building until we've achieved the look that we're going for. Also, the more you roll it back and forth, the softer your pattern is going to be. Also, as your roller starts to get dry and you keep rolling it, you can soften your pattern down and make it not look so blotchy. You can actually just kind of keep rolling it, and it'll take that paint and it'll make it look very soft. So one reason I like doing these type of pre-epoxy designs is because I'm not on a time limit. I can get that design exactly how I want it prior to getting my epoxy layer. But let's address this back area right here. All right, so I've got me some sea sponges. I've dampened them. They're not wet. I really squeeze them out. Make sure they're just barely damp. All right, because when you dampen them, if you use them dry, they're too hard and your design is too stiff. So by wetting them first, makes them soft, and it also makes your design so much better. All right, so we're gonna come in here with our paint. All right, I'm just gonna kind of load it up on my sponge, very light, and we're gonna start tapping and doing the same thing that we were doing with our roller. I just don't want it to be looks like a line. So I'm really gonna kind of work that in there. It's real important not to come in with a ton of paint. You just wanna get a light build on there. Now, if you start getting muddy, you need to walk away. Let your paint dry. Don't panic. Let your paint kind of dry. Walk away. You can always come back once it's dry, and you can fix anything that you don't like. If I keep trying to manipulate it while it's wet, it's just going to get muddy. So I'm going to let it dry. At that point, I'll come back. Any place where I think it's too dark, I'll actually come back in with white, and I can bring all that back to life. So our surface is dry. I'm going to come back in with just some white, and you can lighten up any area and bring that undercoat that we had back. If you feel like you've just gotten a little bit too dark, again, this is all about layering. Don't panic. You can fix it at any time. Again, it's up to you to decide what you're looking for. Softening down, came back with a little softer sponge, just kind of softening it down, muting it out just a little bit. Again, if you want a real high contrast look, you could leave it like that. I'm going for a little softer look. This sponge doesn't even have any color really. I didn't dip it back in. It's just kind of damp, and all I'm doing is just tapping out and softening that white in certain areas. Some areas I want it to be bold. Some areas I want to soften it down just a little bit. All right guys, so you've kind of got the gist of how the layering creates the look. We could continue layering and having a big time with this. We could bring in other colors, or we can just walk away and let it dry for 24 hours, come back and pour our epoxy. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna show you a really cool way to add a little bit of a metallic sheen in this finish. We have some products on our website called Fuzion Sprays, and what this is, it's actual mica powders, and they are suspended in a alcohol base propellant. Very easy to use, works great in epoxy, but we're gonna go straight over the surface and see what happens. We're gonna start off with our brass bell. It's just a real pretty bronzy color. I'm gonna come in with my little sea sponge. I really wanna get a lot of that color out. Then I'm gonna come back in with my sponge, tap it, and very, very lightly hit my surface. And guys, you can decide how much of that you want on there. If you want a lot or just a little bit of that metallic sheen, that is totally up to you. You can be random where you put it, and as that alcohol dissipates, it'll just become a really pretty sheen over the top. So as you move and look at it in a different light, it really does give a pretty little shimmer. You can soften it out by just continuing to tap it, make it very, very faint. Have some areas be a little bolder, kind of like a natural stone would be. Take it down into the sink. So let me know in the comments, do you like this, or would you have left it as it was, or would you add some more colors and build even more depth? So what I can do now is I can just take the Fuzion spray and put it over the entire surface really high so it just sort of dusts the surface and gives a little bit of a sheen. So I'm gonna try that. So let me know, should I have stopped way back before I did all the accents, or should I stop now? Or let's go one step farther and let's just see. All right, so here's what it looks like now. All we've done is just layered our white undercoat with our green and our gray cabinet paint, several layers, and built up that layered. And then we came over the top with our bronze mica fusion, hit it just in accenting areas. So drop me a comment and let me know, would you stop at this stage or would you move forward and fog it? One thing really important when you're using these mica sprays, because this is not a spray paint, this is literally just mica powder mixed with an alcohol-based propellant. Very safe, but it is important that you do shake it every time before you use it to get those micas up in the can. All right, here we go. So I'm gonna start nice and high. I don't wanna come in low because I want it just to be a very light dusting of this. Ooh, that's pretty. All it's doing is just giving it a really soft bronzy tone. In some areas you want it to be a little heavier. I'm gonna get my sink a little bit heavier on it. I like that. All right, so this is after we fogged. We have a very light sheen of bronze, and it really grabs the light when you walk around. 30, I'm just gonna say 31, 27. And I'll add a couple of ounces. 31 by 27, where's my phone? Guys, I have a fun fact for you. Once you use your buckets, turn them upside down, leave them for a couple of days. Then, when you turn them back over, all you have to do, pull out the cured epoxy, and they're as good as new. Now, if you pull them out, and the inside of your bucket is sticky, it's got sticky spots, that's telling you that you did not thoroughly mix all of the material that was in the bucket. That's why we always recommend, when you're mixing, mix for 2 minutes, take a paint stick, scrape your edges, scrape your bottom, and then mix a little bit longer. That way, all of that material that's sticking to the sides and to the bottom that are not mixed thoroughly are going to be incorporated into the rest of your material, and you'll get a perfectly clean bucket. And that is a fun fact. Okay, time to mix the epoxy. So the epoxy that I'm using is Stone Coat Countertop. This is our regular epoxy. It is a 1-to-1 ratio. We're going to start with part B first. The reason we do that is part B is thinner, less viscous than part A. So when we pour, it's going to sink to the bottom really quickly. It's very fluid. That way when we come in with part A, which is very thick, it kind of falls down and I get a more accurate reading than if I were to put part A in first. So we've measured our project. We went length times width. Then we took that square footage and I multiplied it by 3 because we're going to do 3 ounces per square foot. For my sink, I added about 4 additional ounces because we are going to be having runoff down into the sinkhole. We're actually going to collect that material and we're going to come back and apply it until our material starts to thicken up both in our sink and our backsplash. All right, so what we'll do, we'll add in our 2 parts. We'll mix for 2 minutes on low. Be very sure that you don't use, if you're using a mixer with a paddle, don't mix it too fast. You don't want to entrain air. If you do, it's not a big deal. We can use our torch and we can pop all those bubbles. If you are mixing in cooler weather, understand your material is going to be quite a bit thicker and also it's going to hold those bubbles a little longer. So don't be alarmed if after you mix your product that it is a bit cloudy. Those bubbles will eventually pop, especially when we use our torch, and it'll be crystal clear. Now, I'm not adding any color to this. The only thing I'm going to do is, because I like bling, is I'm adding a little bit of our diamond dust. That's just going to give it a tiny, tiny bit of sparkle when we lay it down. Now, this stuff is very potent. Tiny bit is all you need. And I probably should be using a stick instead of doing this. All right, so guys, look at how little I put in there. See that? Tiny little bit. That's just going to give me a hint of shimmer when we go to pour it out. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pour out our flat surface first, and then we're going to let the rest of the resin set up in the bucket and start to get a little thicker, even a little warmer actually, and then we'll address our backsplash. If you are doing this in place, in your home, you can't take it out. You're going to make sure that you disconnect all of your plumbing and put a bucket or something that can catch your resin. That resin you can also use, bring it back up to the top and reapply it in your sink. If you are able to move your sink like we are, kind of the same thing. You'll just have a bucket underneath and it'll catch it. Now, your epoxy is going to coat the inside of your drain, also the inside of your holes for your faucets. What you can do is come back with either a hole saw or a grinding stone, and you can grind out, once that epoxy has hardened, you can grind out and clean up your drain. All right, here we go. And I'm not going to get crazy on the surface right now, okay? I'm just gonna put a little bit out at a time. I like to use my hand. You could use a paintbrush. I'm not gonna push it over the edge quite yet. Okay, I'm gonna run all this out. Now, best practice is applying 2 clear coats. That's gonna give you your maximum amount of durability. Then if you are going to have this in a really high traffic area, I would even come back and do an additional application of our ultimate top coat. Our ultimate top coat is going to provide the maximum durability for scratches, heat resistance, anything like that. So for video's sake, guys, we went ahead and we're doing this epoxy now. We've let it dry about 3 or 4 hours. But for best practices, let your paint dry overnight before you do your epoxy. All right, so now we've got it out. So now I'm going to kind of bring it over the edge. Now I don't want to rub too hard because I don't want that mica powder to move. Okay, now you can see it starting to kind of go into our sink. And that's okay. The thing is, we want to do a very thin coat in our sink. Now what we need to remember, because this is a vertical surface, our sink is going to be very thin. That's why we're going to apply multiple layers of the epoxy, same with our backsplash, so that it's going to have a thick coating just like our flat surface on top. So I'm gonna dig in, get a little bit of that resin on my hand. I don't wanna put too much because this is very fluid at this point, and I know all it's gonna do is run down the drain. So all I'm doing is trying to get a light coat on there, and then we'll apply a heavier coat once our epoxy starts to thicken up. All right, we're gonna do the same thing to our backsplash. Now don't put too much, because all that's gonna happen is it's gonna run down and it's gonna pool right here in this lip. So you don't wanna put too much right now, because like I said, we're still very, very, very fluid. So again, we did 3 ounces per square foot. I did include my backsplash in that measurement. And then I added another 4 ounces or so for my sink. Again, guys, if you were doing this in your bathroom or in a small area or in place, kitchen, make sure you properly prep all your surrounding areas. And I've got 2 excellent videos on prepping that we'll link in the description of this video. All right, so we're making sure everything's covered, and we're just gonna let this set up for a little bit, let it continue to run down, and we're catching it in the cup underneath the sink. All right, guys, so at this point, we're gonna kind of walk away, allow the epoxy to start thickening up, allow the product that's in our bucket to start thickening up, and be very mindful. It will get hot, and it doesn't take a long time. Depending on your temperature, it can happen fairly quickly. So keep an eye on it, keep touching your bucket. When it starts to get warm, you'll be able to see it, you'll be able to feel it, and when you reach in, either with your hand or with a glove, we're gonna start painting that backsplash. It's gonna be thicker, and it's gonna adhere a lot better. And guys, this is my new favorite product. This is the same Fuzion Spray that I used with my bronze, except this has no color in it, and it is formulated to pop bubbles. So I don't have to use my torch. When I spray, pops all those bubbles. I can even spray it on my vertical surface, pops those bubbles without heating the product, which causes it to run. So this is a fabulous product, my new best friend. So our product is starting to get warm, which tells me it's starting to thicken up. Got a brush, you could use your hand, and now we're just gonna start brushing this on, and you're gonna wanna do layers of this. You can even pick up some product that's rolled down and apply it to the back. Same thing with your sink. You can even actually just apply it to the top and kind of let it organically run down. And that way you'll have a really thick coating on the inside of your sink. Now, if you get it too thick and too hot, it's gonna clump up. So there's that really window that you have time to work this. So don't let it get too hot in your bucket. At this point, I'm not looking for perfection. I'm not looking for a smooth glass-like finish, because we're gonna come back with our second clear coat, and that's gonna level everything out really, really nice. As far as the video, we're done. But in real life, what you're gonna wanna do is allow this to dry for 24 hours, and you're gonna come back and you're gonna do it all over again. All right, that's gonna really give you a smooth glass-like finish. And then at that point, you'll allow that coat to dry for 24 hours and then decide if you're gonna go to the next step by applying the ultimate top coat. We're actually going to be using this Vanity in our shop bathroom. And so we may come back and put a logo and then flood coat it and then UTC. So I wanna know what you wanna see. Leave us a comment down below and let me know if you guys would enjoy a bonus video showing us doing another clear coat, but adding an RK3 Design logo in the corner. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this little project. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Did I answer all of your questions? Did I give you some pro tips on how to do any vertical surfaces? Let me know. I would also love to invite you to our Facebook RK3 Design Insiders group. It is an amazing, growing community. You can post pictures, you can ask questions, you can show all the good stuff, all the bad stuff. We've got some amazing moderators, very professional, masters at their craft that will help you any way they can. Everything that you saw in this video can be bought on our website, rk3designs.com, where we offer free shipping on all orders over $100 and same-day shipping if you order before noon Texas time. That's Central Time. All right, guys, until next week, remember, don't be scared. Move forward and be creative.